Liability is the legal responsibility of a person or organization for their actions or omissions that cause harm or loss to another. Liability in negligence is the responsibility that arises where a person breaches a duty of care and causes foreseeable harm to another. The liability in negligence for injury to people is the legal responsibility for personal injury caused by a failure to take reasonable care. The liability in negligence for damage to property is the legal responsibility for physical damage to another person's property caused by careless conduct. The potential action in negligence is a civil claim brought by a claimant seeking compensation for harm caused by the defendant's lack of reasonable care. The elements required for an action in negligence are the existence of a duty of care, a breach of that duty, and damage caused by the breach. Duty of care is a legal obligation to take reasonable care to avoid causing foreseeable harm to others. This is shown in the case of Donahue v. Stevenson, where a manufacturer was held to owe a duty of care to the ultimate consumer. The case of Donahue v. Stevenson sets out the neighbor principle, which is that a person must take reasonable care to avoid acts or omissions that can reasonably be foreseen to injure those closely and directly affected. The case of Caparo Industries v. Dickman set out the Caparo test, which is a three-stage test requiring foreseeability of damage, proximity between parties, and that it is fair, just and reasonable to impose a duty of care. The first stage of the Caparo test is foreseeability of damage, which is shown in Kent v. Griffiths where harm to the claimant was reasonably foreseeable. The second stage of the Caparo test is proximity, which is shown in McLaughlin v. O'Brien where a close relationship existed between the parties. The third stage of the Caparo test is whether it is fair, just and reasonable to impose a duty, which is shown in Hill v. Chief Constable of West Yorkshire where imposing a duty was considered inappropriate. The Caparo test is further developed in the case of Robinson v. Chief Constable of West Yorkshire, which confirms that established categories of duty should be applied before extending the law incrementally. Breach of duty is the failure to meet the required standard of care expected in the circumstances. This is shown in the case of Blythe v. Birmingham Waterworks, where a breach was defined as failing to do what a reasonable person would do. The objective standard of care and the reasonable man is the standard expected of an ordinary, prudent person, as shown in Nettleship v. Weston. Risk factors are considerations such as likelihood and seriousness of harm that affect the standard of care, as shown in Bolton v. Stone. Damage is harm or loss suffered by the claimant that is recognized by law. This is shown in the case of Rothwell v. Chemical and Insulating Co., where mere risk of harm was held insufficient. Factual causation is the requirement to show that the damage would not have occurred but for the defendant's breach, as shown in Barnett v. Chelsea and Kensington Hospital. Legal causation is the requirement that the damage is not too remote from the breach, as shown in the Wagon Mound. The relevance of any actionable defense is that a valid defense such as contributory negligence may reduce or defeat liability, as shown in Froome v. Butcher. Appreciate the burden and standard of proof is the requirement that the claimant proves their case on the balance of probabilities, as shown in Miller v. Minister of Pensions. The role of compensation in the form of damages is to place the claimant, as far as money can, in the position they would have been in had the tort not occurred, as shown in Livingston v. Raw Yards Coal Company. Thank you for watching this video on liability in negligence. I'll see you in the next one.